Welcome back, everybody, and good morning. My name is Dave Livingston, president of Lewis University, and we're back with another episode of Conversations from Stritch. Just a couple quick things that I wanted to say at the beginning. We continue, and Dr. Sint will talk a little bit more about this in a couple minutes. We continue to balance out the health and safety of our campus with the sense of wanting to bring people back to campus to have a full experience for all of our students. And one of the things that continues to happen, and this is something that I just want to note one more time, which we've said multiple times, is that it's a kind of humbling experience to be in leadership roles during this time, because the ground is constantly shifting. And as all of us have seen, there's been increasing cases in other states, concerns about rising cases, but Illinois continues to do well. We're looking forward to moving into phase 4, and we have recently continued to get more guidance from different organizations, including the state of Illinois. And that's all really valuable for us. But I guess in each week as we come back, I just want everybody to know that we will be nimble and adjust as things go. The other thing I want to say before I turn it over to Chris is just that today's topic is very dear to my heart. Study abroad and the whole notion of having an international campus, a place where we meet and interact with people from all over the world and with very different upbringings and cultural experiences, and so much to offer to us. That was a really, really important part of my college experience and my experience as a faculty member, because I led study abroad trips for a number of years. So I'm excited to hear about what we have to offer today. But with that brief introduction, I'd like to ask Dr. Sint to just talk a little bit about what is going on in terms of both what's happening with the state of Illinois and how it impacts us, what's happening with phase 4, with guidance from IBHE, et cetera.
Great, thank you. Nice to be here with everyone and be back here on campus today. Just to follow up on, or to respond to that question, I am going to send an email out to the community probably late this afternoon regarding the shift in the state of Illinois to the phase 4 of the Restore Illinois plan. We're continuing to learn more about the details of phase 4, but we know that we will continue to follow the guidelines of the health authorities, the CDC, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and other authorities as we gradually reopen the campus, beginning with really tomorrow with phase 4, and in a very slow, purposeful way, opening up into the fall. The transition will be slow. Any activity we resume on campus will be evaluated and modified to maintain these standards. And the initial bit of guidance we have will be for employees, which will be coming out probably late this afternoon or early tomorrow morning, around small adjustments that might be made regarding phase 4. But generally speaking, most of the expectations of our employees are quite similar to what they were in phase 3, at least leading into the ramp up to the fall semester. We also received guidance this week from the Illinois Board of Higher Education, their report called Safely Launching Academic Year 2020, which gives us much more specific guidelines and instructions for planning for the fall of 2020. Just about everything we've been doing is in nice alignment with these guidelines, but now we are able to complete our work in preparation for a vibrant and safe fall semester. So I'm really excited about that. We continue to refine the fall schedule, prepare classrooms, residence halls, and other spaces on campus, as well as continue to prepare in all the areas we've been talking about in recent weeks for athletics, for support for students, and for student life activities. So today's focus, though,
Because
also
one quick comment on
I
this,
tried
could
to
I?
get
Before
by
I know,
without
I know you were trying to get
follow-up questions.
without. So one thing that I guess want to point out to everybody that's on watching right now about these IBHE guidelines, and I think it's a nice thing because we kind of are then in our own community that this is guidelines that apply to community colleges, applied to state schools. And I guess I especially say that for transfer students of ours that might be listening, because what would be happening at Joliet Junior College or at Northern Illinois, the guidelines apply to all of us.
Correct.
Large schools,
Yes.
small schools, private schools, public schools. And I think that's been helpful to us. To your point, I think everything we've been doing aligns with it, but it really allows us to be in concert with a statewide approach to how we can bring students back to campus in a safe way and let them really enjoy the college experience wherever they're going. And I think that it's helpful for people to hear that if there's 3 siblings in a family, and one of them's at the junior college, and one of them's at Lewis, and one of them's at ISU, they're all getting the same guidelines. So the family can expect that they don't have to, I don't know, I used to be buying different size sheets for depending on which school you went to, but there's kind of the approach of face coverings or the approach around hand washing. It's going to be the same on all these campuses, and that I think should help parents and students to feel like they're not being picked on because they went to this school versus that school.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's a great thing. We'll continue to work through it, so we're not talking about any specifics today, but I just think as an overall thing, I think it's valuable for our students and our employees to have that sense that we'll be working in the same way. So anyway, now I'll let you introduce our guests today.
Okay, wonderful. So today our focus is on international and military affairs. So we have our first guest today is Roman Ortega, our Director of International and Military Affairs, and we're very glad to have him here to talk about a wide range of topics of support for international students, our study abroad experiences, as well as our military affairs support structures. So welcome, Roman.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Roman.
Thank you very much, Dave and Chris, and I'm honored to be part of the show, and be part of this conversation in general.
Yeah, go ahead.
We all understand the value and the unique perspectives and the dynamic thinking that the international students bring to our campus, coming from 60 plus different countries around the globe, and in addition to our students going across the globe and what they do and how they bring value and impact back to our university. We value all international students, regardless of the visas that they're coming under, whether they're domestic international students or coming from abroad. Today, we're going to discuss primarily those that have been educated outside of the United States and are coming to Lewis University to study with us. With that, we have the honor of having 2 of our best performing international students on our campus, and that is Jay Chan and Reese Bahav.
Hi, Jay.
Reese, and
Hi,
thank
Reese.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for having us today.
For having us.
So with that, today, we're going to discuss specifically their experience at the very beginning here of what life has been on campus for them. So, Jay, what has life been like for you thus far?
Things have been pretty tough lately, but I'm very thankful for the university for allowing me and other international students to stay, knowing that we have little chances of going back home because of the pandemic going on right now. So basically, this university is our home away from home. Yeah, and I'm really at ease knowing that I'm staying on campus, and the university makes sure to take all precautions to ensure everything is clean, safe, and sanitary.
So Jay, can I, just for our audience, so where did you grow up in terms of, and where's your family? What city? How are they doing? Are you able to communicate them through Zoom? Are you able to keep in touch with, your extended family?
Yeah, I grew up in the Philippines. I spent 24 years there. I went here to do my master's. And my family back home is really great. We've been keeping in touch lately through video calls and through Zooms. And I also have a family here in Chicago, which also helps me to go through stuff lately.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Reese, would you like to detail your experience?
Yeah, most definitely. Once again, thank you for having Tay and I today. We're really grateful for this opportunity. So far, living on campus ever since being on lockdown in March has been a very interesting experience. We're very grateful for the fact first that Lewis allowed us, gave us an exemption to live on campus, like some other universities. In addition to this, it's been relatively obvious to see the necessary safety precautions that have been taken, such as improvements in regards to extra cleaning services on campus. They've been doing a lot of deep cleaning all across the university, and that's quite evident. In addition to that, there have also been certain services that have been given to us as international students, such as transportation. A lot of international students don't really have vehicles over here, so that's really been quite a blessing in a way for students to go off campus in order to get the necessities such as groceries and whatnot. So, like Jay said, I mean, we're all away from home at this particular point of time, but knowing that we're safe here on campus and that precautions have been taken, it's quite comforting.
Thanks, Reese. And we were very fortunate to have Reese at our Thanksgiving table this last year. So that was awesome. Joan and I always host some number of international students. But Reese, could you give, just like I asked Jay, maybe a little background on, where you grow up, why you came to Lewis, and then, then I'd love to hear a little bit more maybe from you, Roman, about how many international students, how many countries we represent. So we have 2 here, but what's the kind of breadth and scope of what our international community is like on campus? But Reese, could you just talk a little bit about where you grew up and how you found out about Lewis and how you got here?
Most definitely. So I had a very unique childhood, I could say. I'm originally an Indian citizen. I was born in Mumbai, India. I lived over there till only I was around 4 years old. But for the majority of my life and my schooling years, I actually grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa. I lived over there for around 12 years, if I'm not wrong. And then for my final 2 years of high school, my parents and myself, we relocated to the Kingdom of Bahrain, which is a little island just off the coast of Saudi Arabia, where I finished my high school before eventually ending up in Lewis. In order to answer your question, Lewis's aviation program is what drew me to come over here. I'm currently an aerospace technology major over here. And after hearing some really good things about the program, I thought it would be a good program to get my foundational educational level in for pursuing further education.
That's great. Wonderful. So, I mean, Roman, how did Jay and Reese fit into kind of the broader sense of kind of who we are as a campus in terms of our international students? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we always had a holistic strategy of where we recruit from and who do we want to support. Specifically, we have over 60 countries that comprise our international student body, which is approximately 175 students in total. So as you can see, there's not one country necessarily as the vast majority of our population. We have students coming from Africa, some lower socioeconomic standard countries typically, to pretty affluent countries, but nevertheless, all of our students are treated equally, provided support, and really with an aim to have a tailored and positive experience on our campus.
Ramon, I think that's probably a good segue into talking about the slide that you provided to talk through some of the support structures that we have for international students.
Yes, thank you, Chris. We segue into that. We are continuing as we move into phase 4, working with the university on recreational activities on campus and off beyond the virtual environment, which we've had throughout this time of shelter in place. As we continue to maneuver, we're also working with Sodexo on food service adaptations based upon cultural and dietary needs. So our students are working with Sodexo directly and advocating for what food they need. And to the credit of Sodexo, they've done a wonderful job of adapting when we made requests. As we go to bring in our perspective and newly transitioned students, we'll be again very cognizant of the working with health organizations at the national pertaining to the CDC and then local governmental agencies to provide them the most empathetic and holistic approach to all of our students coming from different countries outside of the United States. So as those guidelines come out, we're going to make sure that we're communicating effectively to the students before they arrive on campus on what exactly is the plan, and then implementing that plan. So we acknowledge that this is an adaptive and fluid situation that we're continuously assessing and implementing. That said, we've also provided a peer mentorship program where we have students currently on our campus that are working on a one-on-one with the new students coming onto our campus early on during the recruitment process. So when they come onto campus, they feel like they have friends, they feel like they can better understand the community quickly, which as Reese and Jay detailed already, especially in this type of scenario, the community has been crucial to their well-being. With that, we have an international student orientation for all new students scheduled for August 26th. So for those prospective and new international students that are watching, we're going to ask them to participate. And currently it's scheduled to be in a virtual environment, but again, as policies come out, we'll adapt accordingly. Other questions that come up with our international students typically is the immigration assistance. So that is very detailed, very legal, and we have subject matter experts on our staff that can answer any of those questions. So Michael Facchetti, Tyler King are some of the most fluid and versed people that deal with U.S. Customs and Immigration Services. So they can answer any questions for current students and incoming students, especially in this unique environment. Lastly, one of the ways that we've ensured, and I'm very happy that we made the strategic decision in advance of COVID, is that all incoming students are going to be asked to purchase medical insurance. That medical insurance, unless they are coming from a country that provides it or an employer, so that is waiverable. But short of those, we have medical insurance that's very appropriate for American standards. And that will support students if they get sick in the future.
That's great. Roman, I've had a couple questions that have come in that either you or Chris might want to answer. So the first question is whether international students, kind of hearing what Reese and Jay said, will be able to stay on campus for the entire year in this coming year. So if they arrive in September or August, will they be able to stay the whole year? And then a second question that came in was, will an international student need to quarantine for 14 days after they arrive here? So maybe you could, however you want to take those in terms of order.
Roman, how about I answer the first one and you answer the second one about the quarantine? So assuming that there will not be any massive changes in the health conditions of the state and the country, international students could plan to live here annually. Many do. I presume Reese and Jay have been, for example, and so that could be part of people's planning.
Great. And then around the quarantine, Roman?
Yes, so we're going to, by all means, again, focus on national and state level policies as are dictated on what we should do appropriately for our international students. So in light of that, we're going to communicate well in advance in an empathetic way and ensure that whatever needs to happen in order to effectively bring our students onto campus and achieve the educational outcomes that we're seeking with them and have them feel supported, we are going to do so. So as this situation evolves, as travel restrictions per country start to be determined and communicated, we'll be sure to understand what those are, work with the university to implement a plan. But what I can say is that we're in lockstep with our local health department and other governmental agencies to stay apprised and implement the proper policies.
And I guess the follow-up to that, or just the restatement of what you just said, is each individual student, because they're coming from different countries, will receive communication. I mean, because these students are just wondering about themselves in some ways, not about the policy. But you're saying, we'll communicate with you, don't worry. And as soon as we know what is required, we'll let you know what's required, and you and your family will know about that as soon as we know it.
Yes, so, and Dave, yes, on two fronts. One, we'll continue to stay apprised about per country and each student that's coming in, because we'll know what country they're coming from. We understand what visa they're seeking, and if their visa is approved, we'll communicate the travel restriction or policy per that student. In addition, there's the immigration service component, so we will communicate with the government to ensure that they understand when the students arrived on campus, what we're doing regarding their visa and the different type of visa that they're coming on, perhaps beyond the F or J visa, which again goes into a lot of granularity. We understand and are subject matter experts on.
And again, this may be for both of you, but a question just came in, and I don't know whether this is a student or an employee, but so are there plans, because it could be a faculty member that's asking this, to continue to recruit internationally even as, for instance, Tyler's travel may be restricted? So kind of our ability to get out, do we have a kind of way in which we're going to continue to approach international students for recruitment for the fall of 21 to make sure that we continue to have an international presence on campus?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure the subtext of the question, but if it has anything to do with strategy, I can say that we are completely committed to growing our international population and being a welcoming campus to international students, and finding expert ways, even in these most trying times, to help students find Lewis from all over the world. And then if it is a kind of practical question about recruitment, then maybe Roman, you might want to talk a little bit about Tyler's strategies in these times, or with these limitations.
To reiterate your point, Chris, you're correct. We have a multi-pronged approach to our strategic enrollment plan for international students. We had one before. We obviously adapted based upon COVID. With that, we have the blessing of having a very talented individual and a team surrounding international recruitment, and with one of the people at the helm being Tyler King. And in this multi-pronged approach, we're relying and working closely with our partner agencies around the globe. We have on contract many local recruiters in different countries that are very well versed on Lewis University and are promoting our organization ethically and appropriately. We are participating in virtual fairs around the globe as well, and that is also beneficial in this time, maybe not as much as having somebody on the ground there, but considering the circumstances, we're still improving. And then lastly, our strategic partnerships, which we've been getting better and better on over the years around different countries. So working with other higher education institutions around the globe, so to create a feeder system from an undergraduate to graduate program, or a 2+2 type program where they're attending Lewis University ultimately.
Great, thanks. Yeah.
Do you have any more questions for
No, not really,
this topic or for the students?
At this point, one just came in. Yeah, it's still around. It's the same thing around quarantine. So.
Just before Reese and Jay leave us and we move on to other topics, I'm just curious what you're looking forward to in the fall, and are you looking, I guess it's kind of a loaded question, but are you looking forward to more students being around, to going back to class in a more hybrid way? I'm not sure what programs you're enrolled in, but But I'm just curious how you're thinking about the next few months. Jay, why don't you go first?
I'm really excited to like finally see some students on campus because right now it's like really dull because of what's going on right now. But I'm pretty sure the school has tons of activities for us to do, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Great. Reese?
Likewise, adding to what Jay said, campus has been relatively quiet ever since March, so we get to see the campus from a really different perspective. It has been nicer for the last couple of weeks that there have been students, especially aviation students that have been here, so it's a little more lively than usual. I'm definitely looking forward to my last semester at Lewis, my undergraduate program, so I'm definitely looking forward to some of my classes and getting back into them.
Great.
That's great.
Well, thank you. I think we'll ask Jay and Reese to stick around in case more questions come up later, but we're probably going to shift gears now, Roman, to talk about study abroad.
Thank you, Chris. So as we discuss study abroad, we continue to value the experience that we're promoting to our students to move beyond in the state of Illinois. And so we're doing that via travel study, which is typically domestic, and international study abroad, which may be going for a short duration of 2-3 weeks, all the way up to a semester abroad to a different country through a multitude of different partnerships that we have around the globe. So, and it is about them better understanding a worldview, the globalization, and then a newer or refined critical thinking process. Unfortunately, as many things with COVID-19 has required us to adapt and to our study abroad offerings. So unfortunately, we're having to cancel all fall programs appropriately with first and foremost the health and safety of all of our students on the top of our mind. The spring programs are still currently scheduled and being planned, but those are subject to change based upon the conditions of COVID-19. Our Lewis University Rome program at Luce is also still scheduled and continuing to be assessed in its core curriculum, how we're leveraging Rome as our campus, and then how are we providing really a transformational experience while in Italy. So beyond just staying in Rome and moving to different areas as Scampia, Milan, et cetera, and partnering with other global institutions that are Lasallian. So our French partners, our Spanish partners, we have partners from the Philippines and Mexico that send students. So it is not just Lewis University, although Lewis University is at the helm of leadership to ensure that we're doing it well, but we don't do this alone. We work with our partner agencies. So that if programs are not able to run, we have contingency planning currently ongoing for alternative international study abroad and domestic travel study if we are not able to travel based upon those factors. So that might be a virtual environment, that may be something more local, or that may be partnering with a Lasallian institution in a video conference type format in order to, again, provide that more holistic view and refine critical thinking process. For those of you who are interested, please start planning your semesters now for the spring and summer 2021 as you work with your advisors. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to Director Chris Swanson as he can answer all questions about the offerings, how to work with your advisor, and then stay apprised of what is still going to run versus what's being canceled. And again, all of that is predicated on health and safety and what the travel restrictions may or may not be to specific countries that we're planning accordingly.
So I think, I guess what I'd like to hear, Chris, is maybe, I love the way you phrased it just a couple minutes ago about our commitment to internationalization coming here. But could you just talk from a kind of more strategic or philosophical view as provost, as kind of the head of our academic life on campus, about your kind of view of why are we committed to study abroad? Why do we believe that's a good thing for students? Maybe you could just talk a little bit about that. And again, Roman, you may add something on top of that. But I'd love to hear kind of more, I guess strategically, philosophically, for parents and students who are listening, why should they want to study abroad?
Well, I guess to begin with, global learning is part of our general education. It's part of our core learning that we think all students should do who attend Lewis. It's a key element for success in any profession in the 21st century. And so at its core kind of base level, global understanding and global learning are key. Students may play that out through particular majors. They may play it out through satisfying that requirement. They may study a world language as a major or as a minor. But a key way that they do it is to have, there's, as you said, in your experience, and I had the same experience as a studying abroad as an undergraduate, there's really nothing that parallels that experience of being able to leave the country and see how another culture operates firsthand. And so we are, continuing, in the long term, as we move through this COVID-19, we are very dedicated to providing those experiences for our students, those opportunities, whether they be, as Roman said, short-term or long, semester-long or so on. And I guess two other things. One is that as a LaSallian institution, we are part of an international network of universities. And so we have a responsibility to sort of participate as a part of that global community, which is both a huge set of opportunities for us, but also just part of our identity. It's who we are. We are an international university. The second, and then the final thing I wanted to say, just a quick comment about the Rome program.
Yeah, if you could. I was going to ask one of the two of you to talk, because I don't think most people watching really know what that is.
And
so.
Roman's much better prepared to talk about define its characteristics than I am, I guess. But I just, it's a program that will be going into, what is it, Roman, third or fourth year? I can't remember now, of existence. But it's been expanding, and Lewis has taken on a much more of a leadership role over the last few years in our LaSallian community, and we're very dedicated for its long-term life in terms of being a place where students from LaSallian universities from all over the world can come and study together at our Rome site. And we don't know what the spring of 2021 will tell, but as Roman mentioned, we're really investing in the long-term future of that program and its success.
Thank you, Chris. Again, very robust invested Rome program and the value of having that global experience and being able to connect to our other LaSallian partners around the globe, and those specifically in Europe. We are moving into year 4 of our Rome program that is very culturally based to Italy. It focuses on art and history, although it still has very much a liberal arts flavor. And we've incorporated certain majors and are moving towards supporting our STEM majors as well, since they have a general education requirement. And that is a great opportunity to complete a general education courses ranging from theology courses to art and history, Italian language. One of the benefits is that we have 6 faculty members that are there on site. 3 are from Italy and 3 come from the United States and impact our students at our Rome Center, which is in the heart of Rome and co-located with our Christian brothers. So beyond that, we also focus on business, specifically in Milan as being their hub. So we continue to be excited about what the Rome program has to offer. In regards to the value of study abroad, so great points were made about the critical thinking and the evolution of what that provides a student, but also makes the student very relevant. So employers want culturally appropriated, culturally transitioned students to better understand how to work on a team effectively. And a lot of specifically corporations are multinational corporations, so they exist in different countries. So having that well-rounded experience study abroad can help provide that, enables our students not only to be relevant, but also very competitive. And we do that not only abroad, but we offer travel study to help provide that. And then again, our globalization requirement that can be completed locally as well, and connecting into the gateway that is Chicago.
That's great. Thank you so much, Roman. And I guess just one little thing that I'll add, and then we can transition into the military piece, which is one of the kind of unique programs, and Chris mentioned this, and you've kind of mentioned it, but just to state it very clearly, is that students from other Lasallian universities from around the world are in classes with our students. It's the majority of the students are from our university. We have a few from other Lasallian universities in the United States, but we've had, I think, in all three of the last programs, students from, whether they be from the Philippines or come from Mexico. So that's another really great opportunity for our students to be in Italy, but studying with a student from Mexico, from a Lasallian university in Mexico. So it's a, and there are lots of other universities that have programs similar to that, but I think it's not the most common way to do it, and I think it's really great that we can do it that way.
Great. So maybe, Roman, maybe this is a good time to transition into military affairs.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. Again, another population that we value, support, and understand the unique transitional opportunities that exist with our military students as they leave active duty, or they go into the reserves, or if they're a family member intending to use benefits, or an ROTC cadet that is eventually going to serve our country after they attain their degree and commission with the military, whether that be Army or Air Force ROTC. So we've always found them to be a crucial part of our mission of supporting what could be considered an underserved population with the value of education that we provide. Now, in the unique circumstances of COVID, all summer and fall VA certifications are in accordance with the Student Veteran Coronavirus Response Act. What that essentially means is if you were signed up for a face-to-face course prior to COVID, then your monthly housing allowance, which is higher, is considered resident, and that continues to be the case even if the course is transitioned to an online forum. Now, in the fall, if you originally signed up to be in a face-to-face course, and it is going to be in this hybrid model that's been laid out by the university, then again, that will be considered resident. Now, if the student planned on only signing up for online, let's say, and we have many students around the globe, let's say that student is in Afghanistan, well, that student was never going to sign up for a face-to-face class. So if they're a veteran and living in a different country or state, then their housing allowance continues to be tied to the online. For those who have questions regarding that, it's really based upon what is promoted via the university and the registrar in the course schedule book. We are going one by one, ensuring that the certifications are appropriate. And if there is a challenge, the students can have a direct line to myself or Scott Inskeep or the small army of student veterans that work in our office to ensure that all their questions and they feel are answered and they feel supported. With that, we have our peer mentorship program. Much like the international students, this is where we're pairing up student veterans or military students to other military students as they make that transition. For many of them, they may have gone into the military, served 3 to 4 years. 75% of veterans only serve 3 to 4 years and may not have a college degree or college experience. So therefore, they have a lot of questions. It can be challenging, and perhaps when they were coming out of high school, they weren't thinking about college at that point. But as they accrue the GI Bill and they find the value of higher education, Lewis University is one of the best institutions to study in the country, ranked that way, and arguably, in my opinion, the best university in the state of Illinois to study with. As a function of that community that we like to provide, we are moving our Student Veterans of America chapter more virtually. And this is where other student veterans in their student body work with student veterans to provide them support or to provide programming on our campus in conjunction with the Office of Veteran Affairs. For those of you who are interested in employment, the VA has a wonderful program that we call our veteran interns. So if you're using the GI Bill and studying at least 3/4 time rate of pursuit, then you could potentially be employed in our office. And that is funded by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. And those people that we have approximately 7 right now support our own student veterans as well with the leadership of Scott Inskeep. The last thing I'd like to say, and one of the most, I think, important things that we've done since we started to provide support over a decade now to our veterans, is we have our Veterans Emergency Relief Fund that, through the gracious donations of our donors, we are able to apply some financial benefit or financial support to veterans who may be having an extraordinary challenge based upon COVID or just in general. So we are applying those funds and getting our students back in the classroom, which is what we want them to do in order to achieve their career goals.
Yeah, that's great, and so proud of the work that you've done over the years, Roman. You've really built up this program, and again, a kind of context. So you talk about, and I know it's true, that we are really one of the best, schools for veterans in the country and certainly in the state. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of scope of that? I mean, how many military and/or veterans do we have on campus, and how does that compare to maybe other schools in Illinois or that you work with as kind of peer institutions?
So from a demographic standpoint, by size of our institution, we're one of the largest just in total, and also by ratio, one of the highest as well. So out of all the students that we have approximately, what I would say, 500 military students. Those range from approximately 200 to 225 veterans with us. Approximately another 15 dependents, as dubbed that term by the military, those using family members using GI Bill benefits. We have another about 30 to 40 reservists, another 30 to 40 cadets. And then lastly, we have our active duty students that are typically in the Air Force on active duty at Kirtland Air Force Base, which Jim Saya and his team out in Albuquerque are doing a tremendous job to ensure that those students are progressing and achieving their community college of the Air Force degree or moving on to 4-year degrees with us at the university. So a little bit of ebb and flow, but we're approximately 500, and we have a vast array of different types of services for those students. We understand the construct of the reserve model, those called up on active duty, what it means to transition from veterans. And so our team of approximately 10 is arrayed of all veterans or people that served in the military. I myself, I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserves. I've been coming up on 22 years. So as we built the program, we understood contextually what was required, what was needed to support those. And both Scott Inskeep and all of us have used the GI Bill as an enlisted person and then moved on to different roles and careers and multiple degrees.
Roman, we don't, that's such a wide range of different types of students you just described, and we don't have any visitors on the show today from those groups. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what you and Scott have heard about some of the challenges that our military students have had over the last few months. And you mentioned some of them in your presentation around our support for them, but I'm just curious what you're hearing.
So primarily it comes down to some of the financial support that the VA provides our students with GI Bill benefits, primarily the resident rate or online rate for housing allowance, because that could vary of about $1,000 a month. And as many of our veterans have families, have apartments or houses, and they need to pay their bills. And they're very responsible and disciplined people, so they stay on top of what is the VA certification and making sure that they're maximizing their GI Bill appropriately as quickly as possible in order for them to finish out their degree and potentially even get, as many of them do, get a graduate degree within the benefits that they have. Now, transitional challenges, I would say that our military students, our veterans, do a tremendous job. Their GPA is on average higher than the rest of our students. We have approximately 80% retention rate with the student population as well, and a very high graduation rate. So they perform excellent on our campus, in our community, and in the classroom.
Thank you.
That's great. So I think that's kind of the basic, kind of presentation we wanted to offer people today on two really important topics for Lewis University. So, Roman, any last minute comments you want to make just in general about anything we've talked about today, or reemphasizing anything?
So, yes, Dave. So, again, we value our international students, our military students on our campus, and the unique and dynamic perspective they provide us. Every decision that we're making moving forward and how we support these populations are going to be specifically tied to the health and safety and understanding of what those students' needs are. So, and that'll be done in an empathetic approach. Today, we heard about the quarantine component. So rest assured for those students that are online with us today that we are going to tailor per country, per an approved visa, because a lot of this is a dance between the United States and that appropriate country on whether a visa is approved. And if a visa is approved, we're communicating well in advance of what the travel restrictions may be and what policies we're implementing based upon guidelines directed to us on how we do that. So rest assured, your thoughts are with us, and that we're going to do the best we can to ensure you're supported.
That's great. And Chris, any last minute comments you have?
Very briefly, just the thought on my mind is just to repeat that, Lewis University is a Lasallian institution, and we are part of a large international network. And I'm really proud of the work that Roman has been describing around support for our internationalization in general. And much gratitude to him and Michael Facchetti and Chris Swanson and Tyler King on all those efforts. And then also, I'm just, even, and you just said it, but I mean, just so immensely proud of the work, Roman, you've accomplished in support of our whole wide range of military students, which is such an important part of Lewis's history and our mission. And so to you and Scott, thank you so much for that work.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks once again, Chris, for joining me on this. Again, I want to say thank you. I can see your wonderful smiling faces behind me here. So thanks to Jay and Reese and Roman for joining us today. Wonderful to see you, and great perspectives on what is going on this campus. Also wanted to just again, thank all of the people involved in our internationalization on campus, which of course includes not only the team that Chris already mentioned, but they need the support of our faculty and staff, who really do a great job across campus to make people feel comfortable. I think we heard that from Jay and Reese, that they come to campus from places all over the world and feel that they're a part of the family. And the Lasallian family is really important in that regard. Just wrapping up for me, I just want to, again, thank all of our employees. As Chris mentioned at the beginning, these regulations keep coming out. And I just am so appreciative of all of our employees and the way in which they've responded so well to the challenges that we have faced over the last few months from multiple directions. And it has really been a pleasure to work with my colleagues here, who really do work in association with our students to lead them to their degree. The last thing I'll say is that we will be taking next week off. So it's a holiday around the 4th of July, and the university's closed, and so we won't be doing a program, but we'll be back the following Thursday with a new conversation from Stritch. So I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. We're so blessed here at Lewis and blessed as a country. And so I just wish you all well, and hope you have a great time with your family, that with Phase 4 you can maybe grill a brat or a hamburger and enjoy some time outside with family and friends. Have a great week. Many blessings to all of you.